Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's another episode of AVIOT Sunday Brew. I'm glad we're actually recording this one on a Sunday. It's been a minute. I missed last week. Last week, I think was it Thanksgiving weekend? I think. No, it wasn't. Yeah. We're coming off of Thanksgiving. We're coming off of Thanksgiving, so it was technically like Thanksgiving weekend. A lot happened. I went to visit family with my wife. We drove to go visit my family, and then we ended up coming back to where we're staying at, and I was tired, so I wasn't able to do that. Still working on the podcast. I know I haven't done the podcast. We're in our fourth season now, and going into the next year, I think I'm going to do this thing where yearly I'm going to make the new year an actual season. So we're going to go into the next year, and we're going to call that season 5 of the AVIOT podcast. But I thank y'all for whoever has been on the journey with us thus far. AVIOT Sunday Brew, what we do here is it is a part of the AVIOT podcast. However, we just talk to audience members live. Speaking of which, we had an audience member in the last live that we did that was recommending this song called Quest. That was by Quest called Lavish Luxuriously. I had a chance to listen to that song. It was nice. The hip hop artist that was rapping on there, I think, was also singing the hook. I would have liked personally for a different person to be singing the hook because at times the artist went a little flat. But hey, art is art. People are going to create. People have their own way of doing things. So I appreciate the song, and it was a nice listen. It was also nice to hear a hip hop artist have verses. A lot of times today, hip hop artists just have two verses, and that's it. But yeah, it was a nice listen. So thank you for that suggestion right there. Right now, I'm kind of freestyling with this episode. I have things on my mind, things that I want to make into content, things that I still have to make into content. But there was a lot of news that passed in the absence of me being on this live last week, and news that's still hitting today. News that I got recently was that the president of the United States, I pulled it up on his article on NPR because I was a little confused as to what they were trying to get at here. But it says that the current presidential administration has removed Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth from next year's calendar of interest fee-free days for national parks. So basically, it's saying that Juneteenth and MLK Day, when you have going into national parks, you used to be able to go in there for free. But now that's been removed because this presidential administration doesn't want to recognize MLK Day or Juneteenth as any specialized holidays like that. But they have added the president's birthday as a day that should be recognized. And during that time, when you go to national parks, you can go in for free. So I find that interesting. It's part of the course with this current presidential administration. They're doing whatever they want to do, and I think a lot of people just say, "Okay, well, here's another thing." People get outraged, people forget about it, and then we move on with our lives. I believe that what we should be doing is educating people on why it is important that we have diversity, why it's important that things that are being removed by the current presidential administration be recognized. So even if the current presidential administration doesn't want to recognize MLK Day or Juneteenth, that doesn't mean we have to stop celebrating it. That doesn't mean we have to stop recognizing these figures, these black individuals who were freed from slavery, from bondage, and the late great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We can still recognize those people. Sorry, I'm a little congested. I don't know why. I had drink some coffee. That's why we call it Sunday Brew. But if the president wants to be an authoritarian and he wants to exert his will over everything, it's only so much that he can do. People have to be able to agree to that. You have lawmakers that are pushing back against that. You have people who won't recognize that. I know the founder of Turning Point USA, who was his life was taken. People wanted to recognize his birthday in October as some great day, but October, his birthday came and went, and nobody really cared. I'll be honest. The only people that really cared were bigots, people that affiliate themselves with his platform. But aside from that, nobody really cared. So it's all in what do you want to recognize? What do you want to prioritize? What do you find as important? Right. But we're still going to celebrate MLK Jr. Day. We're still going to celebrate Juneteenth. The president doesn't have the power to dictate that. I saw also that the president got nominated for a peace prize recently. and I thought that was very I thought that was very forced. It was yeah. It was the FIFA Peace Prize. He was awarded the FIFA Peace Prize, and I thought that was very forced because you have people in his camp that have been saying, "Oh, well, he needs to get a Nobel Peace Prize." For what? For what? Getting a Nobel Peace Prize means that you were promoting peace. What has this president done, this US president done that's actually promoted peace? I haven't seen anything. He can say it all he wants. Just because you say something over and over and over again doesn't make it true. He said he's ended so many wars. That hasn't happened. In fact, he's causing more terror and destruction as the day goes by. So the FIFA Peace Prize was awarded, which the soccer organization awarded this peace prize to the president of the United States during its World Cup draw in Washington. So, I just find it so uh, it's interesting. And I talked to my cousin about this, how there are so many different organizations and individuals who are deciding to support the president or go along with what he's doing. I saw that Sting, they recently took a picture with him in the White House. And I, my cousin was telling me that the reason why a lot of people are deciding to side with the president or kind of go along with his demands is because they have a lot of business and ventures that they feel that he can support or beef up, that he can help get going. So, for example, Google, the search engine. Y'all talk about boycotting everything, right? Google, the search engine, that company actually supported this current US president. And I believe they're doing that because they want to make sure that their business stays afloat. Per my cousin's comments to me, I believe that they want to make sure they can still operate and that they're not impacted in a negative way during this current presidential administration. That's why they support him. Do I think it's right? No. I believe that you have to have integrity. If you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. We have an authoritarian who is straight up mimicking the former leader of Germany. Those of you who know, you know. And people and you kind of see how the former leader of Germany, weird mustache looking guy, how he came to power. People didn't speak up, people just listened to his demands, and there wasn't a concerted effort to stop him because people want to be selfish. People are scared of what they're going to lose. All right, let's see. Let's see. Okay, the real cowboy Dan. This is an amazing channel, and I didn't know I needed this. Thanks. I love this. That is so cute. I'm often viewed as a villain, but I'm a scared little puppet man. Okay, the real cowboy Dan. Okay, okay, scared little puppet man. Don't be a scared little puppet puppet man. Like I said, the point of AVIOT Sunday Brew is for for me to for people who are affiliated with the AVI podcast to communicate with the audience members out there. We want to have productive dialogue, though. We don't want to have dialogue that is derailing the conversation or that is unproductive, that promotes bigotry or promotes hate. We don't. I don't want that. Not at all. We don't want that on this platform. But you see how the weird mustache-looking guy, the former leader of Germany. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? But yeah, we see how he came to power because we're seeing it in real time with this current U.S. president. I mean, people in power have to challenge him, and the people in power are really us, the citizens. If citizens as a whole band together and they say, "Nah, we're not supporting this. We're not putting our money here," there's only so much you can do as an authoritarian. So how am I? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Hanzalakan. Hanzalakan. I'm doing all right. Just up trying to. I don't know why my nose just got stuffy all of a sudden. I'm talking right now. It's kind of difficult to breathe. But when I'm drinking coffee, is actually helping with my sinuses. This blend of coffee, I got it from this market that's near us, and it's not a mainstream brand, and it's actually eggnog. And then my wife got some cookie creamer. I usually drink my coffee black, but she got some cookie creamer, and it tastes wonderful. This eggnog flavored coffee with cookie creamer. Oh my goodness. What is my name? Just follow this podcast. Follow this podcast. Look at the channel. My name is mentioned. All right. So I encourage you to do that. My name is mentioned. If people understood the numbers of us versus them, it's so massive that half of us could defeat them, but people are in a prison cell with an open door. We choose to be enslaved because it's easier. The real cowboy Dan, that is a word. That is a word. You are so correct. You are very correct. Yes, I love that. Yes, people are in a prison cell with an open door. That is so true. People choose to be enslaved because they don't want to do the work to get ahead. People choose to be enslaved because they don't want to be uncomfortable. Let's look, for example, with certain boycotts that happen. I know being a black individual, there's been boycotts of certain brands, but people can't even be on board with that. And I understand why in certain regards. Like, not everybody has the luxury to boycott, and those who are the better, not the better, but have more resources within our communities, they choose not to spread the wealth. They choose not to invest in those who are not as privileged. So I look at the Black Collective, for example, and I look at Black celebrities, and I'm saying if they band together and they help those Black individuals who are less fortunate, and they band together and they work to maybe make a super group and start their own businesses, start their own chains, I feel like there could be a lot of positive change. And I feel the same for other celebrities of other demographics. Remember when Crystal was being super rich? I don't know who Crystal is, the real cowboy Dan. Can you explain? I don't know who Crystal is. So if you can explain, that'd be very helpful. But yeah, so that's that whole situation with this current president of the United States. He's going to do what he does. I resist in my own way. I also speak out against the injustices that are happening. I try to educate people. Maybe I can make a segment on why MLK Day is important and how it got started in order to challenge this narrative that it doesn't need to exist. So I can do that. I've made a video about Juneteenth before, but maybe I can make another refresher video. So I'll I'll go there. Speaking of oppression, I recently saw, actually recently, last night, I saw the movie Wicked for Good. I don't know if any of you have seen that film. And it takes a lot for me to go and pay for a movie these days. All right, let me see. The alcohol brand from France. That's Cristal. Is it Cristal or Cristal? Cristal. I don't know. It's a champagne. I think it's spelled wrong. I think I spelled it wrong, but they got caught calling black people names, and there was a boycott in the community. I did not know that. The real cup. I did not know that. I don't drink. I haven't drank that champagne to my knowledge, so I didn't know that. But thanks for making me aware. I can actually look more into that. Matter of fact, let me take a screenshot of what you're saying, and then I can make a follow up video there on that. So I appreciate you mentioning the Cristal champagne brand. But yeah, so I saw Wicked for Good last night with my wife. It takes a lot for me to pay for a movie these days because movies are so expensive. But I enjoyed it. All right, Jay Z mentions it. Oh, so it is Cristal. Okay, okay. He started his own brand of alcohol. Thank you, the real Cowboy Dan. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I'll make a follow up video on that. I definitely will. I'll look into that today. I don't know if I'll make it today, but I'll make a follow up video because I have a follow up video on another topic that I'm gonna get into in a minute. But I wanted to get into Wicked for Good. So it takes a lot for me to see movies these days, actually see in the theater because the prices are so expensive, and people say, "Oh, we'll go see a matinee," and sometimes it's hard to find a matinee around where I'm at. So I usually wait for the movies to come out on streaming. But Wicked, the first movie was great in theaters, and I wanted to see the second movie in theaters. My wife and I had a good time. We were in a nice theater. The chairs were reclining back. They gave us blankets. We had food served. I had a bison burger. It was wonderful. So I thought that Wicked for Good, it was a nice movie. It was, so the runtime was long, but to me it seemed short. And the reason being because if you actually have watched Wicked the play, the second act of the play seems to go by really fast because they kind of wrap up the story of how the Wicked Witch of the West is tied in with the Wizard of Oz and what was going on in the background. And basically, Wicked for Good, they kind of extended that more. I don't want to ruin the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. I thought they did a good job, and I've been listening to some breakdowns of it. I saw some themes in there, themes that I may or may not talk about I don't know, but Wicked for Good, solid film. The first half of Wicked to me was better, and I was reading or watching video on the background of making Wicked for Good, and they wanted to do that in one movie with the first one, but the runtime was so long that they just had to split it into two. And I liked it. I thought it was very well done, and it did talk about oppression because at the heart of Wicked is the oppression of animals. So people have theories as to what the animals mean and who they symbolize in real life. Some people say they represent people of Jewish faith. Some people say they represent Palestinians. We know the conflict that's going on with them and the members of the so-called Holy Land today. And then some people say that the animals could represent undocumented immigrants in America. So there's different symbolism. We know that Elphaba, the one that plays the Wicked Witch of the West, the person who is the Wicked Witch of the West, or who's deemed that in the movies, that she is a black individual. Like you can look at that metaphorically as a black person. Galinda, who was usually Glinda, but then she changed her name to Galinda, who is the good witch. She is representative of your average liberal white woman that says they want to do good, but they really have other intentions. They just want to appear good, but they don't really want to sacrifice things will that make them comfortable. All right, let me see this. The Wizard of Oz is from his filing cabinet. I remember seeing a documentary on the author, and it was wild. The lead was played by John Ritter. I have to leave. The truth is coming. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I remember I had read about the Wizard of Oz and what it represented when I was younger, and I believe that it represents a period of American history, the actual original story. And I forget the different parts, but I know that it was supposed to represent a period of American history and the different parts of the Wizard of Oz. There is symbolism there, there are metaphors. But with Wicked, you can also look at that as having metaphors as well. But it was a good movie overall. I enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna be seeing a movie in the theaters for a while. I know Zootopia 2 is out. I didn't know they were gonna do a sequel after the first one. The first one was so deep and it talked about oppression, bigotry, racism. Like that's the first Zootopia. So I'm curious to see what the second one is. My sister said that the second Zootopia is actually better than the first. I don't know if she's a prisoner of the moment, but I definitely intend on checking it out. I'll probably check it out when it comes out on streaming though, because I'm not paying another close to $50 to go to the movies. I'm not doing that. All right. But that is that. Speaking of film, movies, television. I wanna go into this documentary, the one that a lot of people have been talking about. Now, I made a first video on it yesterday talking about part one of Sean Combs' The Reckoning. Reckoning. It is talking about it's a four-part documentary that's talking about the rapper, hip hop mogul Diddy and his dealings with individuals, how he has been a shady person, how he might be involved in the untimely demise of certain individuals like Tupac and Biggie, and how he's abused women, how he's abused men, he's abused his clients, people who have worked under him. And it just shows his fall from I don't know if you could ever say it was from grace because even how he got to be a big megastar in the first place was very complex. People lost their lives, and it's like with every time people lose their lives, it seems like Diddy was climbing up the social ladder. In the documentary, I don't know if any of you've seen it, but make sure to check it out. Spoiler warning, because I'm going to give some spoilers here. In the documentary, it was talking about how he first became a major figure because he had hosted this event in New York, and it was a basketball celebrity event, and there was a stampede, and people were crushed against doors, and they lost their lives. And then he spoke out against what happened, and that's when he started becoming more notable. People started noticing him more, and then he works with Andre Harrell as an intern. He ends up working with different groups and like I think Jagged Edge. I think it's Jagged Edge. Don't quote me on that. And Mary J. Blige, and then he is one of the people that discovers Biggie. and he brings him on board. Biggie becomes his artist, then Biggie ends up losing his life mysteriously in California. And based off what the documentary was saying, Diddy could have prevented that, but he was just so gung ho on going to California. And this is after Tupac died. And so the block is hot. And then there might have been some contract negotiations that were going on that was a little wishy-washy. Biggie wanted more money from Diddy and Bad Boy Entertainment, and so they oblige. And now all of a sudden, Biggie ends up dying in a drive-by. And so after Biggie passes away, then Diddy does this, I guess, this memorial in recognition of Biggie with Sting at an award show. And then Diddy moves up to superstardom. So the whole point of the documentary is just to show that Diddy is not a great individual, and he has abused so many people. He has taken advantage of individuals, not just women but men. They're talking about his sexual deviancy, all of that. And it was eye-opening in some regards. I would say probably the most eye-opening part of it, and this is what I made a video on last night, was his parents. Because his father was a gangster hustler, and then he ends up being killed because of the activities that he's involved in. And his mother, who's used to living a lifestyle that was supported by his father, she wants to make sure that her son is treated well. So she dresses Diddy up in fur coats as a child, dresses him up in nice hats, kind of gives him anything that he wants. And there was one part where they talk about he's beat by his mother because he has to be a man. And so this idea of what Diddy believes manhood should be was promoted to him as a child. He looks up to his father, this gangster figure. His mother hosts parties in which you have questionable individuals coming to their houses, maybe women who sell their bodies, hustlers, gangsters. Members of the New York Knicks are coming to their parties, and Diddy and his younger friend or friends are at the parties and dancing for people, and they're around that environment. So you can only imagine how that's going to inspire a younger individual and how that can follow him into adulthood. So a lot of the reason why, now I'm not excusing Diddy's behaviors at all, but a lot of the reason why he is the way he is, I would argue, is because of his parents. His father being in a shady life, and his mother dealing with shady individuals and encouraging Diddy's behaviors as a youngster. So there is that. And I know there's been this dialogue about 50 Cent and how he has a vendetta against Biggie because one of the mothers of his children was dealing with Diddy. I think I said Diddy. I hope I didn't say Biggie. I mean Diddy. That he has a problem with Diddy because one of the mothers of his children dealt with Diddy, and he just didn't like Diddy on a competitive level, and that's why he executive produced the documentary. Well, I think the documentary was necessary, and we don't need to praise 50 Cent because he himself is problematic. And if you want to know why, I explain it in my video, my part one video that I made regarding the documentary. But I think it's necessary because we can't support this behavior that Diddy has been doing. We can't allow him to be representative of hip hop or hip hop culture. I understand that he's played a huge role and that can never be erased, but that doesn't mean we need to support this guy. That doesn't mean when he gets out of jail or being incarcerated that he needs to be welcomed back into hip hop culture with open arms. So if you want to see the Diddy documentary, Sean Combs: The Reckoning, by all means go ahead. But if you don't, I'll be covering parts of it, parts that I found interesting. I got asked a question on TikTok regarding his connection to the murders of Tupac and Biggie. So I'll be doing a video on that today. And that's pretty much it. So I appreciate all of y'all who have joined this live. Just a quick yap session. I think 24, 25 minutes is good enough. So we always end this by talking about what's brewing for the week. For me, what's brewing is I'll be working on this video regarding Nicki Minaj's comments at the UN about Nigeria. Now, I have Nigerian friends, I have Nigerian family, and I definitely feel that the narrative surrounding Nigeria and the persecution of Christians, as they say, is complex and oftentimes not reported accurately. So I definitely want to make a video that's talking about that. I've taken my notes that's somewhere in this room right now. And so I'm prepared to give a talk on that video. Also, what's brewing for me this week, I'll be working on this article that I've been working on for maybe a couple months now. And I just been starting, stopping on that article. And when it's out, I'll let y'all know because I think it's very important. But my purpose during this time is to educate y'all about what's out there. This whole platform in general is about media literacy. And I want to give the correct information or the information that I feel is the most accurate regarding any situation. And that might be information that you like, information that you dislike. But it's important that people become more media literate and they become more skeptical and more critical of the media that they're consuming, whether it be social media, music, television, sports, video games, what have you. And that's that. So thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next time.